Welcome back to our exclusive hour with trailblazing musical group New Edition as they get ready to go on the culture tour. New Edition. Of course, you know, we've been talking about the different phases and the evolution of the group. Their revolutionary sound paved the way for generations of artists to follow. Every member of the group found success outside of New Edition, including Ricky Bell, Mike Bivins, and Ronnie DeVoe, who during a hiatus in 1990 created a little-known group. Maybe you heard of them. Bell, Biv, DeVoe. Their chart-topping debut single, Poison, shocked the music industry when it became a surprise mega hit, the song going platinum, the album selling over 4 million copies. Continue the conversation. Mike, Ronnie, and Ricky are standing by. So, guys, the last time I saw the three of you perform, we were at the Mardi Gras, the Zulu Ball. I had the distinction, the greatest honor of introducing you. My cousin Erica is just a diehard fan, and you pulled her up on stage. When I tell you, for the rest of my life, she has to do everything I say. And I can call her at 2 a.m. I'm like, go run errands, come get my baby, I need a break. I own her, Ronnie, because you pulled her up on stage.
Yeah, sounds like, it looks like she was singing Mr. Telephone Man. Is that what was going on right there?
I don't know what she was singing. I know what y'all were singing.
Right.
Mike, let me ask you, when Bell Biv DeVoe ventured out, could you have ever imagined, again, and I keep asking this as I did with New Edition, but now here you are as a trio, that not just that you would be a success, but after you recorded Poison, did y'all look at each other and say, okay, we're about to change the game? Did you know it then?
I was still in Boston, which is where I still live.
Oh.
And they were hanging out, having a vibe, which we call like vibe and getting together, having the energy. And I just remember Ron and Rick calling me on the three-way saying, yo, I got this slogan to our whole movement. And I'm like, okay, well, what is it? They said it's called hip-hop smoothed out on the R&B tip with a pop feel to it. I said, so what is that? They said it's mental. And I said, oh, so basically we are all of this genres of music, and that's what the goal is. And I think that's really the part that let me know that we had a direction.
I mean, we would plan out everything from video concepts to stage shows, and we were discussing how we would answer the question doing interviews as, you know, to describe our music. And so we were talking about that, how are we gonna answer that question? And it was just a discussion. We were like, well, it is hip hop, but it's smoothed out, you know, and it's on the R&B tip, you know, coming from our background. And it has major crossover appeal, so it has a pop feel appeal to it. And we said, there you go, that's it.
Yeah, I know there was pressure, Ronnie, as to be expected. The studio wanted you to be New Edition 2.0. How did you find your voice in the midst of the weight to prove that you could do it?
Great question. I think we always knew when Bob really made his way to stardom in front of us on the Heartbreak Tour, right? Like, he was opening up. Then it was New Edition headlining, but we saw him rise to stardom. And for us, we felt like, look, the fruit doesn't fall too far from the tree. So, yo, if Bob can blast off like that, once we figure out what it is that we want to do, and we knew that it was going to be the off-stage persona of New Edition, but how do we make that happen? Those ballads and Lose Direction helped, but then when Poison came, it was just a whole nother situation. And I remember hanging out at Ralph's house. Hiram and Mike bought the tape. It was a cassette tape at the time. I'm hanging out at Ralph's, and they popped the joint in. And when I first heard those snares and that rumbling bass line and those melodies, I knew from day one. And I remember Ralph knew too, because he was like, yo, man, I want to get on that joint, man. I can take the second verse. Yo, he'll probably tell you the story.
I love
it. From there, it just took a turn and it became like who we were at that time in our lives.
When we come back, Bobby, Johnny, and Ralph talk about their own solo careers. That's next. Our virtual audience filled with New Edition fans, but not only did New Edition change the face of pop music, but it also, as we know, launched hugely successful solo careers for all of its members, including my guests, Bobby Brown, Ralph Tresvant, and Johnny Gill. I got to talk solo with the three of you. I was so excited when I learned that we'd have this opportunity because each of you have such a rich history on your own. Bobby, your solo, of course, started with the band, that now well-known story that was documented, the vote that you would be leaving. When you have to sit down with yourself and think, can I do this? Will I win a Grammy? Can I venture out on my own? Where was that source of strength for you?
I think it came from hunger, just wanting to still perform, wanting to perform the way I love to perform, which is just free energy, you know, but just the hunger of loving the stage and wanting to be back on the stage. I think that's where my energy came from.
You became the bad boy, as they call you, and you embraced.
He didn't become. He didn't become. He was that already.
He was. You can tell in the early videos that he was the bad boy, but you embraced that, and that became your signature. This unapologetic Bobby Brown was going to come out, and it was like a human fireworks. How do you describe that time for you?
Just unpolished, you know, polished but unpolished. It was like a raw diamond.
Ralph, for you, sensitivity became the counter to that, iconic in its own way. I mean, you went on hiatus, you got ready to come out with your own solo music, and I read that you were afraid of failure. Here you'd been the front man for the group, but then you were afraid of failure.
There's a lot of pressure when you see BBD reigning on the charts, Bobby's killing the charts, Johnny's killing the charts. Everybody went out before me and they're killing it. So it's a lot of pressure to come behind. Yeah, you're gonna feel that feeling of I better not be the only one to come out here and don't win. You know what I'm saying? I had that kind of pressure on me. So when I dropped my project, it was a breath of fresh air to see that I was just smashing up the charts. Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, they brought me sensitivity, you know, and I kind of knew when I did that song that my own lane was carved, I was gonna be all right amongst these guys. But there was some powerhouse records dropping right then out of the camp. So I wanted to make sure that I was right too.
I mean, you have to know that it then became a part of popular culture. People would say, what do you think, I'm Ralph Tresvant? I'm Mr. Sensitive?
Yeah.
Because it was in a complimentary way. A guy would give you flowers. They would say, what are you, Ralph Tresvant? I mean, you became the picture prototype of the sensitive man.
Mr. Sensitivity.
Johnny, your, what is it, 1990? It was self-titled album, went double platinum, and follow-ups to come. For you, though, you had already really started out with your own voice, and you melted it in with New Edition. Each of you have these distinct, you know, voices and sound that all were chart-topping. So it proved that there was enough of the pie to go around.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's just due to the mothership. We all, you know, just branched out from the mothership. And I think people kind of maybe at some point didn't know what to expect when we was all going, you know, solo. But I mean, I just think that it was a true testament to the NE for lifers. I mean, they just, they rocked with us with and without.